What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So, some of the worst timing ever yesterday, where after I put that what to expect in Echoes of Duviri video, DE dropped the dev workshop on some things to expect in Duviri, and we got some big changes here, so we'll go over that today. Really apologize for yesterday, it actually was the worst timing ever, but either way, we got some really good stuff here. Let's go over it. Appreciate all support as always. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, make sure you're sub to the channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. Also, we're recording this video live on Twitch right now. Come stop by the live stream if you want to. We are streaming a lot of Warframe. Also got some Remnant today too. So let's get right into it. So we got some damage number changes. We got some status effect buffs. We got some Overguard buffs. And these things are all going to add together to make certain frames feel a lot better than before. I'm looking at you, Frost, so we'll go for some Frost changes here too. Alright, so hopping right into what we have here, we have the dev workshop that came out right after my video, just to remind you. And what we're going over today is enhanced damage numbers, Overguard buffs to Warframes, cold, impact, and puncture status effects, and how you will get these new Incarnons. So let's start off in the order they have put this on here. We have the enhanced damage numbers. So there's a couple things that are changing here. One of the things being when you have a red crit, and they give a bunch of tiny little slash proc damage numbers in the background, the red crit or high tier crits will be prioritized display wise over small numbers. See that small 69 damage number right there? Nice. His red crit would be prioritized over that. It would never be overridden by that damage number. So that's one of the things they're doing. Additionally, specifically on melee, when you are walking around, the melee damage number will follow around with you a little bit, as it's sometimes hard to see melee damage numbers when you're swinging your sword around, running through the mission really fast. So quite nice. You could tell this dev really cares about the game with these kinds of smart choices. Additionally, ability damage numbers will look different. They're going to have this little purplish effect to them, and they will look different than a normal slash proc, for example, on Ash's Shurikens. Going even further, this dev really cares about the game. There's actually going to be new settings too. Damage number, I guess it's consolidation or something like that. So if you've ever been what exact number am I dealing with right here? This is going to be the setting that can help you out. Think of Diablo 3 or whatever. So you can change the settings from putting 293,112. Who cares about the extra little 112? Make it go from 293,000 to 293K. So this will be very nice because who cares about the extra little 112 damage at the end? If you do 293,000 damage, that's all I need to know personally. So it would be, of course, for millions as well. 2M or 2B, you know what I mean? Those types of big damage numbers will be displayed here, so quite nice. Also, there will be a setting to make damage numbers even bigger if you want to do that. You can even cover your entire screen in Glaive Prime orange crits. So that's going to be most of it right there. And also on console, you guys are getting commas finally. And on PC, we're getting the ability to turn off commas with the whole 293K. But I think they're getting that on console too. So moving past that, it's going to be mostly, nice little things you can change there. Moving over to player Overguard improvements. Now, this is going to be where I'm thinking Frost is going to get some buffs, especially some later stuff here. So, something they are changing with Overguard that is not currently the case right now is, of course, there is going to be Overguard gating. So once your Overguard is broken, you will get 0.5 seconds of invincibility. Additionally, a new buff to Overguard they are making for only players, not for enemies, is that you will have complete status proc immunity while it's active. It is not currently like that. You can actually take heat procs and things of that nature while Overguard is currently active on the live build. After this change on Thursday, Overguard will equate to status immunity while it's active as well. So that will be another nice thing for Kalervo. As long as his Overguard doesn't get one shot, he will not take slash procs or heat procs at high levels. And really, when you take a big damage heat proc as Kalervo, it is rough. So that's a really good change for him specifically. But as I said in the video yesterday, if you are a Frost player, you should probably go get this Icy Avalanche mod pretty soon if you don't have it already, because it's getting a buff. And also, cold procs are getting a buff we'll go over later. This augment for Frost, Icy Avalanche, every ally hit by your 4th ability gets Overguard. So that means every ally you hit with this will get status immunity and a 0.5 second invincibility. So that's very nice, as you can cast his 4th ability quite often, but you're going to have to find the mod spot on it here somewhere. Probably over a Mars Hatred, I'd say. So yeah, very nice, but additionally, Frost is getting some even bigger changes, just because cold procs in general are getting buffed. But we'll get over that in a second here. So yeah, pretty nice there. Also, there will be a new visual effect when you shoot Overguard. There will be a metallic effect that, some metal scratches basically. It's not going to be blood coming out of the enemy like it normally does. If you have those settings on, of course. All right, stats. So these are the status buffs. These are probably the most important thing to me here because these are some procs that are actually pretty bad. So we have buffs to puncture procs, impact procs, and cold procs. So let's go over the first one here, the puncture procs. So they've made it where, so if you don't know what a puncture proc does right now, it basically makes the enemy deal less damage to you. It doesn't make you deal more damage to them, they deal less damage to you. So it makes you more tanky in that way. But they also don't really do anything at high levels because enemies are going to one-shot you anyway. So they've made it where there's now a maximum of 5 puncture procs on an enemy that's allowed, and it will still make them deal less damage. It will be up to 80% reduced to damage by the enemy, but also the new effect they're adding, it's something that I've always wanted, is that puncture procs actually will debuff the enemy to take more damage. Now puncture procs will make it where you get, well, the way they word it is a little bit weird, but I'm going to just take this as additive crit chance. Increases the crit chance threshold on an enemy by 5% per stack, stacking to a maximum of 25% at 5 stacks. This is additive after mods, not before. It does not apply to abilities or AoE damage. So, the way I'm reading this, and, you know, of course, it's up to interpretation, as the word crit threshold is not really used very much in this game. It sounds very similar to a mini effect of Arcane Avenger, where this is going to give you plus 45% crit chance. That's going to be also after mods. So think of it like a mini Arcane Avenger if the enemy has puncture procs on them. And that's actually quite nice compared to what we have right now, which is literally nothing. Puncture procs, again, like I said right now, they don't do anything. They are going to make enemy deal less damage to you. So, on things like the Epitaph, which can deal puncture procs, cold procs, and a bunch of other stuff, the Epitaph just got a massive, massive buff. Now this thing will be giving you increased additive crit chance on enemies affected by it. So, quite nice there. And that's also, before we stop talking about the Epitaph, let's go over the last couple changes here. So, yes, additive crit chance up to 25%. So, combine that with Avenger, that's a total of 70% additive crit chance. If your weapon had 0% crit chance, now it has 70% crit chance between those two things. On impact procs, they're not really changing too much with these. They're just making it easier to get mercy kills. Won't really affect anything. Internal bleeding, the mod will still be great. Same with hemorrhage. All that stuff will be exactly the same. Anyone that thinks this is a nerf is a fool. So, yeah, don't view this as a nerf. It's just a buff. It just makes it easier to get mercy kills. And then for cold status effects, they're actually buffing these ones too. And remember that Frost, we were just talking about Frost getting some buffs, so let's go over this and keep in mind the Frost Warframe while we're talking about this. So cold effects now have increased stacks from 8 to 9. There's also that arcane called Secondary Shiver. Enemies affected by cold procs take more damage from your pistol. Another stack for that, another chunk of damage. So from 8 to 9 maximum stacks, increase the per stack slow from 3.5 to 5, and increase the overall maximum slow to 90%. So 90% is as much slow as you can drop on these guys with cold procs, but we're not done. Now cold procs will increase the crit damage taken by an enemy by 10% on the first proc. Subsequent procs increase the debuff by 5% up to a maximum of 50%. This is additive after mods, not before. So up to 50% increased crit damage on an enemy affected by a bunch of cold procs. So if we look at both of these things here, we have crit chance increase from puncture. We have a crit damage increase from cold. If you can get puncture and cold on the enemy and viral, they are dead. If they're armor stripped too, of course. They are dead. That is going to be a big, big buff. And these things did not have these in the first place, so works with me. Now, again, we don't really mod for cold damage that often. There are certain things in the game that are pretty decent that have cold built in, but it is really not viewed in a positive way for the most part. Additionally, some of the higher level enemies you want to use a condition overload procer on are actually negatively affected by cold procs. I'm thinking mostly about Thrax on Void Cascade, as when a Thrax enters its ghost form, a cold proc will make it take longer to enter its ghost form, which, you know, that is meaning you're getting less arcanes technically as you're trying to kill Thrax as fast as possible. But with, you know, a couple little niche applications of being worse for certain weapons here and there aside, it is overall a good change. Another thing you could look at is that the puncture proc change giving additive crit chance on weapons could be a, you know, it could be a anti-synergy, let's put it like that, with things like the Felarks and the Fenmore, which don't really want to have much crit chance at all on some of their meta builds. So we have him cold procs. So as you see, him turning into a ghost is a lot slower as he has lots of cold procs on him. That's one of the things where it's like, okay, that probably wouldn't be as good because I do want to use this Epitaph, as this Epitaph can proc cold and puncture. So if you don't have an Epitaph Condition Overload Primer, consider it heavily. I would say that as far as other applications for this, a cold Kuva Nucor is not really going to be what I recommend to you. As, remember, it's not going to have cold on top. It's just a cold element built in. You're still going to only be able to do viral. You're going to be able to do viral cold. But things like the The Babonico, I think, can do viral colds. That's another thing that may be considered there. Go over the last couple changes here as far as obtaining Incarnons. The new Incarnons will be available on July 30th. So, and the way they're doing it is they're making it where it's a new, like, they're just stapling in this new rotation into the new week 2. So this is a new week 2, and Latron and Strun are now the new week 3 from then on out. But let's just go over how this works. So regarding the current Steel Path rotation, we wanted to give players the fastest access to these new Incarnons post-launch. As a result, we are altering the current Steel Path reward rotation to ensure they show up next rotation, July 30th. So, just a reminder, we are currently on week 1, which is Brent and Lato, Skana, etc. And then next week, this upcoming Sunday the 30th, make sure you check out my weekly reset video, of course, we will have the Boar, Gammacore, Angstrom, Gorgon, and Anku Incarnons. And then as far as how that's going to work as far as purchasing them for Plat, in addition to acquiring these new Incarnon Genesis via the Steel Path circuit rewards, the respective adapters will also be available to purchase from Cavalera with Platinum in the new Incarnon Market. Once the Incarnon Market goes live on July 30th, it will be remain accessible with the remaining offerings of that week's rotation we're on. Okay, so it sounds like, at first I read this as the Boar Incarnon and this stuff will always be available, but it will remain accessible with the offering regardless of, okay. So, actually, I think I did read this right. So, it sounds like the Boar, Angstrom, Gorgon, and etc., those will always be purchasable no matter what week you're on. But the other ones, like the Latron and stuff like that, will not be purchasable. But let's just keep reading to make sure that that's a sound prediction here. As previously discussed on DevStream 172, this experiment intends to offer players the option to acquire these new items instantly, should they desire, instead of waiting for the week's rotation to return. While ensuring that the free acquisition path is not prohibitive for players, only these 5 new adapters will be available for Platinum via this experiment and will become available following the weekly reset on July 30th. And a big thing here, purchasing the adapter for Plat will also give you the Pathos clamps you need to install them. So, after reading this, the only Incarnons you'll be able to buy for Plat are these new ones. The Angstrom, the Boar, the Gorgon, the Anku, and the whatever the one I forgot was. So the only those ones are available for Plat, and then the other ones will be normal, which is kind of weird, I think. I feel like DE should make it where it's like, okay, every week you can buy them if you want to. Maybe they're just keeping it like this. It's an experiment. They're trying to like show you that this new stuff is always going to be available to you, but at the same time, it's like, you know, having to wait like 5 weeks for a Torrid in the first place is just frustrating. So if they can make it where you can just buy them whenever you want to, like a token system, that would be great. But either way, guys, that's going to be it for the Dev Workshop overview. A lot of good stuff in here. I'd say definitely the best stuff is finally getting some buffs to these puncture procs and these cold procs. There will be some certain synergies for sure. I think Frost is going to be getting some big changes here. His 4th ability removes enemy armor. It puts cold procs on them. And with the Biting Frost augment mod, they're going to be taking increased crit damage too. So definitely try a Biting Frost, try Icy Avalanche Frost, and things of that nature if you want to, get ahead of the curve, I guess. I think Frost will be getting some nice changes here. There's also Primary Frostbite, which requires cold procs, but that is also probably a little bit too niche for what we're talking about right now. So, very nice. They're all armor stripped. They're all dead. So keep an eye out for that once the update comes out on Thursday. I appreciate all the support as always, guys. You guys are awesome. And yeah, let's get those big changes in. Appreciate the support. Take it easy. Bye.